Welcome to Just a Mama and Her Bible podcast. My name is Clarice. I'm a Jesus-loving mom to 4 kids who's on a mission to find her purpose and grow in faith with you guys. Today is episode 1 of the book of Job. So we're in Job chapter 1, and I'm going to be reading verse by verse. So, Job chapter 1. Reading out of the King James Version of the Bible. There was a man in the land of Uz, whose name was Job, and that man was perfect and upright, and one that feared God and eschewed evil. So we know that Job is from Uz, and Uz is believed to be the south and east of the promised land of Israel. Let's move on. And there were born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters. So he has 10 children, 7 sons and 3 daughters. 10 children, guys. 10 of them. So his substance also was 7,000 sheep and 3,000 camels and 5,000 yoke of oxen and 500 she-asses and a very great household, so that this man was the greatest of all the men of the east. So if we compare everything that he has, the oxen and the she-asses, to today's time, Job would be considered a millionaire. That's how much he had. So, on verse 4. And his sons went and feasted in their houses, every one his day, and sent and called for their 3 sisters to eat and drink with them. 5. And it was so, when the days of their feasting were gone about, that Job sent and sanctified them, and rose up early in the morning, and offered burnt offerings, according to the number of them all. For Job said, It may be that my sons have sinned and cursed God in their hearts. Thus did Job continually. So Job knows that his children are sinners. He knows this. He knows that they feel some type of way about God and they curse God in their hearts. They might not say it to him, to his face, about how they feel about God, but he knows how they feel. So basically, when it says, thus did Job continually, he offered sacrifices every year for them. Because, of course, he loves his children. And he's praying to God, he's basically asking for forgiveness for them. So, yeah. Can you imagine? You believe in God and none of your children do? Oh, pray that does not happen to me. I hope that they believe, but it's their choice to believe. God gives us free will. So, let's move on. Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them. So when they say the sons of God, they mean the angels. So the angels have to report to God. So does the enemy. And the Lord said unto Satan, Whence comest thou? Then Satan answered the Lord and said, From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. In this verse, we see God's authority. Nothing happens outside of God's control. Satan's response indicates he's just roaming around the earth causing trouble. It's basically, he said, I'm just going here and I'm going there and I'm doing this. So this verse reveals the unseen spiritual realm. It gives us a glimpse of what's happening in the spiritual. And the Lord said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and upright man, one that feareth God and eschewed evil? So in that verse, God is highlighting Job's character. He describes him as perfect and upright. He doesn't say Job is sinless, but he does say he is blameless, sincere, and morally upright. Then Satan answered the Lord and said, Doth Job fear God for naught? Satan is questioning the sincerity of Job's devotion to God. Basically saying, is Job only worshiping God for his blessings? When I read this, I question myself, right? Am I worshiping God because I love God or because of the blessings? And I hope that God knows in my heart, because he knows our hearts, that I'm worshiping him. I hope I'm worshiping him for the right things. Has not thou made an hedge about him, and about his house, and about all that he hath on every side? Thou hast blessed the work of his hands, and his substance is increased in the land. Satan continues his argument, acknowledging that God has kept protection over Job, his family, and his possessions. Basically saying Job is not genuine. So he's just questioning, like, I don't think Job is worshiping you because he loves you. I think he's worshiping you because you've given him all these blessings. But put forth thine hand now, and touch all that he hath, and he will curse thee to thy face. So Satan is claiming Job's faithfulness is conditional, and ask God, keyword, ask God, to test Job by removing his blessings. And the Lord said unto Satan, behold, all that he hath is in thy power, only upon himself put not forth thine hand. So Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord. So God gives Satan authority over Job's possessions and family, but tells him you cannot touch Job. Touch his family, touch all his possessions, but do not kill Job. You cannot kill him. So this is showing us God's ultimate control, because Satan can only act within God's boundaries. Okay? This verse also shows that trials and tests are not random, but occur under God's sovereignty and serves a purpose. And there was a day when his sons and his daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house. And there came a messenger unto Job and said, the oxen were plowing and the asses feeding beside them. So Job's trials are going to begin. So verse 13 shows a normal, calm moment. Job's children enjoying a feast right before bad news, which shows us trials can come unexpectedly in our lives. In verse 14, the messenger informs Job of disaster, his wealth and livelihood. And the Sabines fell upon them and took them away. Yea, they have slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. So the Sabines were a nomadic tribe known for raiding. They attacked Job's property, stealing his oxen, his donkeys, and killing all his servants. Now his wealth and resources are lost, striking his livelihood. While he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, the fire of God is fallen from heaven, and hath burned up the sheep and the servants, and consumed them. And I only am escaped alone to tell thee. So the fire of God is likely some sort of natural disaster, such as a fire or lightning destroyed Job's sheep and killed his servants, more of his servants. So they say the fire of God, quote, fire of God, appearing to be an act of divine power. But in reality, it was an act by Satan. So, you gotta be careful what people say to you, because they came up to him saying it was an act. The fire of God is coming from God, but no, it wasn't. It was coming from Satan. It was the enemy coming to destroy him. It wasn't God. While he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, the Chaldeans made out 3 bands and fell upon the camels and have carried them away, yea, and slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. So the Chaldeans were a group known for raiding, stealing. So they stole from Job, causing lots of destruction. While he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, thy sons and thy daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house. And behold, there came a great wind from the wilderness, and smote the 4 corners of the house, and it fell upon the young men, and they are dead, and I only escaped to tell thee. This most heartbreaking loss for Job, all 10 of his children are killed. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine you have 10 children, and not 1, not 2, but all 10 of his children are killed? So Job not only lost his wealth, but his entire family. So I can't even imagine what Job could have been going through. So his faith is being tested beyond just possessions. It's more than just these worldly possessions. He's also faced with losing his family. Then Job arose and rent his mantle and shaved his head and fell down upon the ground and worshipped. Right there. So rent his mantle. This act of tearing his robe is a traditional sign of deep mourning in ancient times, indicating Job's sorrow. And shaving his head was a sign of mourning, and he fell down and he worshipped. Despite his grief, Job fell down on his knees and he worshipped. I can't imagine that. I can't imagine it. Like, that's how you know Job was righteous. Righteous. He lost everything. He lost his family, lost all his wealth, and he still got down on his knees and worshiped God. Okay, guys, this is the last verse of the chapter. Well, the last two verses. And said, naked came I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return thither. The Lord gave, and the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. In all this, Job sinned not, nor charged God foolishly. So Job acknowledges that all things are temporary. He understands everything ultimately belongs to God. Despite his loss, Job chooses to bless the name of the Lord. Despite everything he went through, he still worshiped God. And that tells you no matter how low you get, worship the Lord, okay? Worship, keep praising. No matter what, no matter how it may feel, just praise the Lord. Life begins and ends with nothing. So Job does not accuse God of wrongdoing. Instead, he holds fast to his faith without blame or complaint, showing Job is genuine. The devil is a lie. He's a lie. Okay? So this chapter set the stage for the story of Job's suffering. It highlights God's sovereignty, the nature of suffering, and the importance of maintaining faith in the face of trials. For listening to Just a Momma and Her Bible podcast. Stay tuned for next episode, chapter 2 of the story of Job.